This business could truly change a lot of productivity all across the board. For instance, like when we do business remodels, like Lowe's, Home Depot, your Target, your Walmarts, it used to take them 5 to 6 weeks to remodel the entire store's restrooms because they would shut down part of them and leave them open for other people's. By installing the restroom trailers, they've taken that time down to 2 to 3 weeks because they can completely shut all the restrooms down in the store
Right.
while using our facilities outside,
Mhm.
and they can remain operational. So you can see the savings from an untapped market.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the podcast that inspires action and helps you to grow your side hustle into a thriving income stream. I'm your host, Joan Posivy. Have you ever thought about a side hustle where you buy something once, rent it out repeatedly, thereby creating for yourself a steady income stream? Of course you have. We've talked about it before, like in episode 90, how to get rental rich from party tents. But here's one we haven't drilled down on before. Restroom trailers. Neither had David Sowers, not in a million years. He was a commercial banker until a precarious porta potty episode with his young daughters made him think there's got to be a better way. And he found it. What started as a side hustle with just one restroom trailer has now grown into a business with over 2,000 units nationwide. The luxury restroom rentals I've used have been for weddings and special events. It wasn't until I started talking to David that I realized just how big this market really is. Think construction sites, corporate requirements, and even big retailers needing high-quality temporary restrooms to keep business running smoothly during renovations. David shares how he turned this often overlooked necessity into a thriving rental business, breaking down the costs, rental rates, and what it takes to make this a scalable, repeatable model. But before all that, if our chats are sparking your entrepreneurial spirit and providing valuable insights, consider giving the show a caffeinated thumbs up by shooting me over a virtual coffee. It's a real thing over at sidehustlehero.com/support. Thank you so much. Now here's my conversation with someone who turned an overlooked necessity into a profitable rental business, David Sowers. Well, welcome, David.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited about today's podcast.
Me too. Well, what you rent out, David, is not your typical portable washroom that you might find at a outdoor music festival or construction site. Describe what we would encounter if we walked up to one of your portable bathrooms.
Well, we like to call them restroom trailers. We offer full service restroom facilities that are portable. So unlike a traditional porta potty, we offer a facility that is climate controlled, that has flushing toilets, a vanity, is adequate lighting. So you actually feel like you're in a real restroom until you walk back outside.
But it is basically a trailer. What kind of square feet are we talking about?
Our smallest trailer is a single stall, and that is usually around 6 by 8 feet.
Okay.
And then they go up to, we've got them as large as 38, 40 feet.
Wow. The deluxe model. Okay.
Absolutely.
The first one I encountered was at a wedding. It was in the country on about 100 acres, and it was actually stunning. I'd never seen anything like it before. But how does one come to wake up one morning, David, and think to themselves, I'm going to go into the restroom trailer luxury business for a career?
That is, I don't know that anybody has actually dreamed or sat up and thought, oh, I want to be in the waste management business, or I'm going to go collect people's excrements for a living.
Your parents must be really proud.
Everybody thought we were crazy. Like, why are you doing this? You're going to bring shame to your name. You've in a professional business, and now you're going to go be a porta potty guy.
Well, this is smart because this is something that everyone needs.
Right. It's kind of like a funeral business, except it's not.
Yep.
We get to take part in a little bit more memorable events, hopefully, and everybody likes to go to the bathroom in comfort and style. And that's what our business offers. It offers that solution to bridge that gap when you are doing something outdoors. It elevates it.
How did you get involved then?
My daughters. I'd never really thought much about a bathroom or a porta-john. It was just kind of the socially accepted norm. Like just going to the porta potty is it's just what it is. It's an outdoor bathroom. You deal with it. You live with it. You deal with it. My children were potty training. I had Stella, and we were at an outdoor event. And we went over to the Porta-John, and I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. My daughter is freaking me out here. She's touching stuff. I'm nervous. I can't fit into this whole thing with CC on my hip. And it was just an overwhelming experience. Like, there's got to be something better out here. And it just kind of took a nosedive from there. Stella, I'm holding her above me, and she ended up peeing on me. Got
Oh man.
my other daughter outside. So it was just a huge mess. And I just went back home and was like, there's got to be something better. Why is this just accepted? And from that standpoint, we drew out our first restroom trailers. And my business partner, Robert Glisson, was really the catalyst that pushed us forward. And that's why it was so interesting being on your show, is because this was a side hustle. That's how we envisioned it. And that's how we planned our business in the beginning.
So did you two build that first one yourselves then? Did you buy a trailer and then refurbish, or not refurbish it, but customize it?
We did not. Wells Cargo, they were building like a game day or a tailgate trailer. And so we took that model with them and expanded upon it to build out a restroom trailer. It's kind of like an RV restroom, or something that you would consider in a recreation type vehicle.
Yes.
And we just expanded upon that kind of blueprint.
Right. Because the ones that I've been in some RV restrooms, I find them actually very small, but the ones that I've been in, like the restroom trailers, they're quite a substantial size. To describe them, I would say like the size of a standard wheelchair accessible one, where you've actually got some room to move.
Yes. And that was the whole point behind when we originally started this, was I wanted to be able to walk in with my two kids.
Okay.
So when we put that platform out, I actually measured my half bath out at my house, like from floor to ceiling to the width and everything, to make sure that we could all fit in there. That was the whole basis originally. So it worked out later on from weddings, when you've got people thinking about dresses, and even when two people kind of go into the bathroom. So you have that space and that extra utility to move around and not feel so confined.
Well, you mentioned the side hustle. Now, you're a franchisor of this service, and I will ask you about that. But let's look at some of the requirements and numbers for someone wanting to get into the business as a side hustle. For example, a little while back, I had Adam Keller on, whose business is party tent rentals. And he explained that you could get started for about $2,000, and then that would give you a single tent, 20 by 20 tent, 50 chairs, and 6 tables. That was like a starting package. What would you recommend someone wanting to get into the luxury restroom business to? What would they start with? 1 trailer, 2? What's your guidance there?
So every side hustle, I think, begins and they want to evolve into something bigger. They want to make it something bigger. And that's how Robert and I did. We didn't mean to, we just evolved. But to answer your question, to start, it requires a large asset purchase. It's kind of like buying a piece of real estate and then renting it out each month. So when you buy a restroom trailer, that trailer costs anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. So it is a sizable investment. However, the return on it is pretty remarkable. And when you only have 1 or 2 of these trailers, you can make a good return without so much involvement. You get on Facebook, you kind of create your little following, and you partner with a venue or 2. And that's really where a lot of restroom trailer businesses focus their market, is on wedding industry type venue, because it's something easy that they can do on the weekend. It doesn't really occupy the weekday. It's a weekend event, so you can drop it off that morning and then pick it up on a Sunday.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. As long as you get it there before and after the event, there's a little bit of flexibility in some cases, or most cases, in that regard. So you would need the trailer itself, something to tow it with. Presumably you have a pickup truck. I suppose you could rent one, but that's going to increase your costs, and then you would be not quite as dependable. Insurance. What are insurance costs like for something like that?
So in the beginning, it's usually your insurance is based off of your auto insurance. It's while it's in transit, it's towed that way. And then while it's at someone's property, you have to have liability insurance to make sure that nothing happens. This is a little more involved business from a side hustle standpoint, but it's fun. This business, you're out there marketing, you're out there talking with people, you're being a part of people's events and memories. It's amazing how many things are actually going on that you now become a part of. You get more active in the community. You're more active every week because you learn of what is going on. The business really it's working for you when you are at home. You put in the work during the time that you can, and then it works for you afterwards. It's not like a restaurant, whereas you are there to make the product and you're only making money while the business is open.
Right.
This one, you're marketing it on your time and on your schedule, and then you rent it out.
Right. So what are we looking at dollar cost wise then to start this business?
To really start from a side hustle is no different than what the franchise getting involved with us is.
Okay.
You're probably looking at somewhere around 100 to 150,000. But there again, I said you can start small with one trailer.
Yeah.
Most people already have a vehicle or a truck, and
Yes.
they already know someone in the event business that they're trying to partner with. It's a business that there's a reason to get into it, I guess. There's more of a reason to get into it.
That could be a potential good contact or connection as someone, for example, already doing party tent rentals, but they haven't gone to the capital expenditure of buying one of these restroom trailers, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So like I said, a lot of people are in the events industry. A lot of people are party planning. A lot of people are helping somebody out with weddings, or they could just be a part of a nonprofit organization that puts on 3 or 4 events a year. This is a revenue stream that is beneficial both to the community, but it's not so time sensitive or time consuming that you really have to work it.
And that could be part of the homework for our side hustle audience, is taking a look at their community and talking to some of these event planners, party rental places, to see how much of a demand there is for it. Is there some opening in the market there that they could get into, and do all this research ahead of time before purchasing it? So yes, there's that $100,000 to $150,000 price point for, say, 2 of those restrooms, but feasibly you could start with one and bring that down closer to the 50 mark. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, I'm assuming a lot. You already have a computer, you already have a phone.
Yes.
Most people already have a vehicle. So their vehicle insurance is already covered by the coverage that they already have, because it's while it's in tow. And then you do have a liability insurance, which is usually not too much. You don't have a whole lot of exposure. So you can get away with more of the minimum requirements and that sort of thing. But everything else it's pretty basic. Create an Instagram page, create a Facebook. You probably already have that contact that you're looking for to rent it to. And then it's almost like owning a piece of real estate, and you go buy a house, you rent it out, and you make your return. The investment and the longevity of these trailers, they reach years and years out. So even at 5 years, you still have a viable asset that you're able to rent out and service people with.
What do you do about pumping them out? How do you handle that?
Well, we usually focus and work along with a local porta potty company, somebody that actually does that type of disposal.
Okay.
Because the restroom requires pumping, of course, after every use. That's very, critical. But it's like emptying an RV, like I said earlier. It's that same model. So people already are probably familiar with how to do that. But the easiest thing to do is just to hire a local pumping service to do that. And there's another lead source generation as well.
Right. And what do they typically charge? Just a ballpark. I mean, obviously it's going to depend on, I guess, the capacity of the restroom and the location, but just as a ballpark, I've never had to get one of these pumped before.
So most of them are anywhere from $150 to $350, depending upon the location. I know when you get up in some places, and up in New York and California, it can be $400 to $600 even. But it's the service that you're paying for, and the rental of the restroom goes along with that. So, for instance, if you're in New York and the rental price or the pumping is $500, you're going to charge accordingly. So it's $1,200, $1,500 for that, and then $500 for the pumping. So it's a $2,000 rental.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So somewhere around that $1,200 to $1,500, is that more or less at the high end for those larger centers like New York? Or that's a kind of an average?
No, not at all. That's kind of an average across the country. I would say similar in such as like Georgia, we may rent a 2-stall out for anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500. Up in New York, it may be 15 to 2,000.
Okay.
So it can be a substantial difference.
Okay.
So it's what the market can bear.
Right. Sorry, what did you say that high end amount was?
I was going to say it could be $500 or $600 more than what
okay.
we rent it for in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. So Texas rents it for one price. California rents it for one price. And
Sure.
it's kind of where the market is and what it bears.
Right. And on top of that, do you charge mileage, delivery?
We do in certain instances. Most of the time when we're within 25-mile radius, we don't. Anything after that, we do charge a delivery and removal fee. And if it's for the weekend, if it's an after hours pickup or something like that, we'll charge a little more.
How much would you tack on for, say, the weekend?
So if we were picking it up on the weekend, we may charge an extra $125.
So whether it's 1 day or 2 days, it would still be around that $1,200 or $1,500 mark, just as that average?
Yes. If we do know that it's going to be 2 days, we may have to schedule a servicing or something like that involved. So we would charge a little more if we knew it was going to be used for 2 days. But typically we would drop off on a Friday and pick up on a Monday. And we're assuming that is a 1-day event rental. Now, if it is used for 2 days, hopefully they've let us know that is so that we can make sure that the trailer is properly maintained and that it can last for your event.
That's very key. So really, it would just be the base rental plus those potential add-ons. And obviously, you're supplying the toilet paper, soap, that type of thing.
Yes. So then you can add on to water fill. You can add on generators. There are always extra touches that you can add, fresh flowers, attendance, all of the different things.
And these are completely self-contained. So they're going to have water tanks on there. They're going to have heaters potentially, or air conditioners. So really, I guess when you pull up to the site, it just needs to be relatively level and electrical source, right? Something to plug into?
Absolutely. That's it.
Is it your standard 110 or 220?
Yes, it is your standard 110. We do like to make sure that you have a dedicated 20 amp service.
So walk us through, if you would, then how that all works. Somebody calls up and says, hey, David, I've got this wedding, this event happening. I need to have a luxury restroom trailer delivered. Walk us through what happens kind of from start to finish, if you would.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, it's all about, okay, where's the location? What's the date? What type of event is this? Is it a wedding? Is it a reunion? What type of party is this? Because that's going to dictate what type of trailer that we're looking for. So if you've got a 200-person event that is scheduled for about a 4-hour event, is there alcohol involved? What is the flow of traffic going to be? Is there a sit-down dinner? Is it all dancing? Is it a music festival? That will dictate the flow. So we may say that we need to increase the number of stalls because your traffic will be raised. I guess more people will be going to the bathroom sooner.
So I got to jump in there because you said something about asking them about alcohol. How does that alter your numbers? You're saying people are going to the bathroom more?
Oh, absolutely. Once you take down a couple, you break that seal, that cycle kicks in and you start going to the bathroom more.
Okay.
And especially if it's a pleasant experience, you don't have a problem going. You're not holding it. Yes. So absolutely.
So then you
people drink more.
Okay. That's interesting. I would have never thought of that. See, that's why we have people like you on the show to uncover these idiosyncrasies of it. So I trust you get a down payment.
We take 50% down and then we take the final remainder payment prior to delivery.
Okay.
So you're all paid up.
And that's a non-refundable deposit, or down payment, right?
Up till about 30 days.
Okay.
Because we're booking out, some of these people book, a year and a half out for these things. So no, we do refundable up to 30 days.
Right. Okay. That's fair. So then let's just call it a Saturday wedding that this is booked for, then you would deliver the trailer on the Friday afternoon, you said, Friday night?
Yes, that's usually about when we do. Of course, we schedule it with the event coordinator or the person renting it to make sure when's the best time to do that. And then we, of course, bring it. And we've told them that we need so many feet of hose for a water spigot if we're going to use that, or we can use the holding tank. And we want to be within 75 to 100 feet of the power source. So we want to be somewhat close to with the main venue where everything's kind of happening on
Yes.
level ground as well. And we do a walkthrough of kind of all the possible troubleshooting that could be done. And then we're there for you if you need us. We turn the restroom on and we walk away.
So you do have the ability to basically take their hose and hook it up versus relying solely on the tanks?
That's correct. We prefer to use a water hose on site just because even though the water is limited, it's always easier than driving around with a full water tank with that extra weight on the trailer and stuff.
Right. And what are some potential problems that you run into with these?
Our biggest problem is probably a clogged toilet. Everybody thinks that the trailer is full or there's this clogged toilet, but one of the interesting things is our trailers they're the RV style toilet. They're the marine toilets. It doesn't have the loop in the back. It's a straight drop down. So a lot of people don't realize that when you push the pedal to flush it,
yes,
that it opens up and it drops down. And it's a low flow toilet, environmentally friendly and water conserving because there's a limited amount of space. And a lot of people don't realize how to either flush the toilet or if it does get clogged because they've mummified their hands, the toilet there's not enough water to push it all the way down.
Yes.
And so you have to give it a little poke and a little swirl.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that is, I would say, 99% of the problem.
Have you ever had an occasion where the toilets were actually full partway through the event and you had to, I don't know, somehow pull it out of there and replace it with another one or get it pumped or something?
Yes, that has happened on occasion. It happens. It's not an occurrence that happens very much, but sometimes it does. You can get a foot pedal that breaks or something like that, and it leaves the water constantly running down the toilet. So, and a lot of times it's not so much waste that's overflowing. It's a lot of fresh water that's kind of overflowed.
Yes.
And usually we pull, instead of pulling in the trail, we just get it pumped and we service it really quick and take care of the situation. What has been so beneficial to Royal Restrooms is that we have consistently maintained our trailers. That's one of the most important things to do is catch something before it actually happens.
Right. That ongoing maintenance, make sure everything's in good working order before it goes out.
Yes.
So who are your typical customers? Where do you see most of your rentals coming from?
Most of our rentals are coming from the private sector. A large majority is the private sector that are either planning their own weddings or they could be doing it for, like I said, some nonprofit organization or a church. Our other large segment comes from the event industry themselves, like your tent rental companies, your wedding planners, and your event venues. Then we have a commercial side also that does more larger scale business remodels.
All right. So a few opportunities there.
Yes, there are a lot of different opportunities in the business.
So in terms of gross revenue, then, if we're taking a look at maybe initial costs of 50 grand and a weekend rental of $1,500, that would be about 30, 35 rentals before it's paid for.
Yes.
Does that sound about right? So I'm thinking probably about a year to 2 years.
Yeah. On average, it's around 14 to 16 months.
Okay.
Is what the payoff is. But we usually, most people finance them for 4 to 5 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is something that could be leased.
Correct.
And your typical lease payment, again, that's going to vary, but can you ballpark that for me?
I would say that the majority of them are somewhere around $1,000 a month.
Interesting. And I'm thinking that it's also going to depend on the climate where you live, that there's going to be a lot more demand for it in the summer. But interestingly enough, I live in Canada, and this past November in the middle of winter, I went to a very formal, like we're talking gowns and tuxes, to a fox hunt ball fundraiser. And it was actually at the Equestrian Center, and they erected party tents within the indoor arena, and at the back was a couple of these luxury restroom trailers. So even in winter in Canada, outdoors, you could still have these.
Yeah. So that's what's been surprising is we primarily focused on events back in the day when we first started, but the business has continued to evolve. And where we have them in Denver and in Salt Lake City and in places like that, we have just as many rentals during the winter as we do during the summer. they're up on top of the ski slopes. They're at all of these vacation resorts because it's just, they're
Okay.
able to expand what they're doing. They've got these little winter wonderlands that they're doing.
Yes.
You've got ice skating and that sort of thing. They drop the bathrooms right out there. One thing that came across my desk, I guess it was a couple weeks ago in Canada, that Canada, I believe, is going to require for anything or any business that is operating over 10 people, they will require a more fully functioning facility. So I don't know if that's been put into law or if that is one that is being talked about, but I was talking about it with another friend of mine out of Canada, and they're like, I really need to get your stuff up here
Right.
more because they're about to enact this into law that any outdoor venue that even on construction sites that have 10 or more people,
Right.
they're going to require a fully functioning restroom and not allow the porta potty anymore.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that. I know there was a push, certainly from construction workers, construction sites, to have something much more, a little bit better than that typical porta potty that you see.
Yes, there's another business opportunity right there.
Right. There we go. We can put our heads together and do some serious brainstorming, David. So, in terms of the person wanting to get into this business, what would you suggest that they use as a ballpark for gross margins? Because those rentals that we were talking about, that's $1,200, $1,500. That's gross revenue. What kind of profit margin would you be looking at? Let's assume that it's the side hustle person doing it on their own, so we don't have to take into account employee costs at this point.
Right. Well, of course, that margin, that's one of the reasons why you want to get into the side hustle, is to lower those margins and kind of operate a business, but not really ever fully operate a business. You're looking at upwards of 60%.
Yeah.
For someone that's got one or two trailers that is not looking to expand any further than that. I mean, they're looking at really good return. They're not really advertising. They're working with one or two people. And when you scale up larger than that, that's when your costs really get in. Employee costs go up.
Yeah.
And then certainly when you get hiring other people to get on your insurance policies, your auto insurance goes 5 times what it was. All of a sudden now your liability is increased. Now you're paying for websites, you're paying for marketing, you're doing trade shows. Everything kind of blows into another spectrum. So right at that very beginning, the person that's operating that has one or two trailers, they do really well for themselves as long as they keep it crisp and clean.
Yeah.
When you try to go more than that, that's when it starts to fall apart a little bit.
So what's the typical lifespan of one of these units?
Well, a lot of it depends upon what the primary use is. When we're using them for weddings and events, and you said 35 events and you've paid for your trailer, essentially based on the numbers, it is very different than if you went and rented it out for 30 days to a commercial remodel, because it's being used every single day. So from an event standpoint, if you are focusing just on events, this trailer has a longevity of 7-8 years without really anything major happening to it, as long as you've just maintained the trailer itself. When it has heavy use, your trailer, it is still a mobile septic tank. So your investment can go down the tube really quickly if you're not careful. So big upswing and big downside to it, but primarily focusing on events as a side hustle. You've got a good 7-8 years of this trailer operational and performing as needed. When you go into doing other things like commercial and business remodels, when you start doing large scale festivals, your margins drop very quickly and the usable life of the trailer drops dramatically.
Yes. And you're going to charge accordingly because of that shorter lifespan, correct?
You do. You try.
Yeah, you try, right? Based on competition that's out there.
You try. That's one of those hard balancing acts that to do.
Yeah. Well, who makes for the most successful franchisees or owner operators of this business? Like, what skill set and experience should they have?
I would say your professional entrepreneurs that really want to invest in themselves, that are more concerned with maybe their own legacy, someone that wants to wear something that is proud of what they do, but they want to earn a little bit more. They're looking to the future. I think that is what all of us ultimately are looking for, is how do we get just one more step? And it just takes that gumption and that grit to do just a little bit more. And this business, it can get you there. It doesn't take a whole lot of knowledge or experience. It just takes more of that gumption and that grit. Like, I'm going to get out here and do this. So the ideal person, it doesn't have to be a salesman. It can be somebody that just is excited to be out in the open. I mean, we have several people that started out. They were actually, a couple of them, they were housewives, and they started the business because they liked being out and talking to, being a part of events. They like the planning side of it. It makes you feel important. It makes you feel like you're out there and doing something. And there's just a little bit more element of respect in yourself,
Right.
to get out there and make something happen, and to know that you're doing it.
And what is the ballpark for something like when that person that you just described is talking to that client and they tell her that it is a wedding for 200 people and it's probably going to be used for a total of 5 hours? How does she know if she needs, for example, one trailer or two?
So that part comes with a little bit of experience.
Okay.
And as you grow into it, of course, that's part of our business plan, is we help you along with those mistakes and over those hurdles.
Yes.
I guess, because we've lived it. There are guidelines that you can go off of. Typically a porta potty, they give you a guideline, 1 per 100 people. There are things that you can go off of to measure that sort of thing.
Right.
But you got to think about the flow and how long people are going to wait in lines and that sort of thing.
Right.
But it just comes with a little bit of patience and some common sense as well.
Yeah, a little bit of
Yes.
trial and error. I want to loop back a little bit to the process that we started with the person phoning up and saying, I'm doing this wedding on this Saturday, drop it off on the Friday. You walk them through it, and then you head over there Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, pick it up. Then what happens from there?
There we go straight into cleaning and maintaining the trailer. It's very essential that you pump the trailer, remove the black water tank, so that you can start the process of cleaning it and getting it ready to go back out again. At that point, you kind of make sure that everything is operational, working. You ask the client, how did it go? Were there any problems? What can you tell me? Hopefully they will say everything was perfect. We didn't have any issues, and they're going to leave you a good review. It's a simple process of picking the trailer up and taking it back.
Right.
Like I said, on these small ones, you don't have a whole lot of work. It's just 1 or 2 trailers.
How long would it take you to clean it, aside from getting it pumped?
We usually spend anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes per stall.
Wow, that quick.
Like
Okay.
So it's just like cleaning your regular bathroom at your house. If you're looking at a 3-stall trailer, you're looking at about an hour's worth of cleaning the actual trailer.
And as far as revenue streams, I saw one of the photos of your trailers, and it was the back of the property, and very discreetly, it seemed, there were these greenery panels that looked like ivy that was set up, basically privacy screens to more or less hide the trailer. People could see where it is and what it was, but it looked really nice. Is that an add-on that you offer?
That is an add-on on what some of our offices touch on. Each office does something that's a little bit different, but yes, to keep from having a big cargo box out there, we try to decorate it and make it more appealing and more aesthetically appealing. So it's not just some big box
Right.
sitting out there in the middle of a field or something, or under a tree. So we'll put some decorations up around the front to disguise the front tongue, as well as maybe putting some
Yes.
flowers in front of the wheels or something like that.
Oh, okay. How many franchisees do you have now?
So right now we have roughly, I think, 32 different franchise owners,
Wow.
and they operate about 50 different offices.
50 different offices. Given that bulk of experience that you can turn to, what are some other revenue streams that you've seen that are related to this?
So directly related to the rental side of this is, like you just said, the screening, the extras that you can add on.
Okay.
Attendant wise, we charge for attendance as well.
Like
Yeah,
a
so
physical staff person there.
right, so
Okay.
that they can make sure them and maintain the trailer's integrity throughout the entire event. If someone has a little pee-pee on the floor, they take care of it. But more or less to make sure that the inside decor is maintained and
Yep.
and it's a pleasant experience for each individual. And those things are important. And like you said, with the side hustle, with being able to do these smaller things, you can take it to another level. You can take it to an add-on to that experience by being a little more creative and not just renting the trailer, but you can create different backdrops. And we've got them where some people they roll out the red carpet to each one of the stalls. So
Yes.
you can be kind of fun with this and get back to that creative side that you have.
And for somebody that does have that really creative side to them, they could express it this
Right.
way. Who knew? Through luxury restroom trailers.
Absolutely.
Well, you've been at this for 21 years now. What's been one of your
Yes.
craziest or off the wall rental experiences that you've had?
There are so many to choose from. I mean, there are really a lot, from celebrity weddings to, we have a speech that President Barack Obama had that he threw away in the trash, and it's got his markings through it
Oh, fun.
where he went and read things like that.
Wait a second. Barack Obama used one of your trailers?
Oh, yes. Well, President Jimmy Carter just passed away,
Mhm.
but we did his birthday not too long ago as well.
Wow.
But for most all, we've been very fortunate in our business to have been blessed by them taking a seat in our restrooms.
That's right. And some you can't tell us about. Okay.
Absolutely. But some of the more memorable events are not really events, but experiences. Is, like I said, when I was doing this as a side hustle, and Robert and I wore a suit every day to work. And here I am delivering a trailer. I'm in my, suit. I am got a meeting later on that afternoon, and I'm delivering a restroom trailer. And I completely got stuck in the person's yard. I am knee deep in mud.
Oh, no.
It is a nightmare. It's one of those things that you should know way ahead of time. And I just remember losing my shoe in there. It was horrible. I had to call to get pulled out. I'd thrown mud all over the tables and the tents, and it was just completely mortifying. And I spent a lot of time cleanup from that standpoint. But
Yes.
I would say more funny events would go back to learning how we pumped the trailers back in the day,
Okay.
which we used to take. We would pump like you do with the RV, but we would take them down to the city of Savannah's waste management, I guess, recycling center.
Okay.
And we had this big pump, and we would pump them out. And my business partner, Robert, we're out there late one evening, and we're taking trailers to another job, making a quick turnaround. And the pump did not prime. And Robert's like, "Oh, I'll take care of it. I want to go prime it." And he went over to the over to the pump, and opened the primer button and dumped his water bottle in it. And that pump hit and it primed, and it was basically a volcano of waste erupting on him.
Oh, no.
And it was probably one of the funniest things that I have ever seen, from him squealing and crying out like, stop. And it's like, I am running because it is
Away, not to help him.
everywhere. Oh no. Like I said, there is a funnel of poo going in the air.
Oh, man. And just for our listeners who are familiar with priming a pump, you need to do that. Basically, it adds pressure into the airspace in order for then that waste to defy gravity and actually pump out, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Much better explanation than I did.
Yeah, but yours is way more graphic. How many trailers do you have now?
Nationwide, we have probably close to 2,000 trailers.
Oh my gosh. All right. So you started with one, you're up to 2,000. Yes. Very briefly, tell us about that growth trajectory, if you would? Like how and what drove that expansion?
Well, our expansion, like I said, we had never envisioned to expand to that big. We wanted to keep it more as a side hustle. We enjoyed our jobs. We loved doing what we were doing.
What were you doing,
We just
David?
wanted a little. I was a commercial banker
Okay.
and Robert was an engineer. So we wore a suit every day and we did our thing and we were good at it. We were
Right.
both very good at it. And
Yep.
this was just one of those things to make a little bit of extra money.
What was happening in the business at some point when you said, you know what, we can ditch the engineering and the commercial banking and do this full time?
The demand.
Yeah.
People really, as much as they told us that we were all crazy for doing this and that nobody will accept it, once they used our restroom, people were like, I can't go back. And it was like a domino effect. Events where we can't be outdone by the Joneses. We've got to one up them. We've got to at least have this restroom. And like I said, it was like a domino effect. We went from doing 10, 12 events that first year to all of a sudden doing 30 and 40 and 50. And we were just like, oh, wow, this is taking a lot more time now. There's people really, well, I guess we're not charging enough or people are really liking it. And we increased the prices. We almost doubled the price and we still did not slow down. And it was at that point that we started to franchise because we had somebody that used the restroom and they came in and they were like, we don't have anything like this in Florida. I want to bring this back to Florida. I want to do this in Florida. How do I do this? And we told them and they were like, no, I want to do it exactly like you're doing it. I want to share resources. I want to use the name. And so that's kind of how we got into franchising that model and spreading it out.
But at this point, it's not a side hustle anymore. When you did jump ship and do this full time, by then, was it already replacing your full-time income or was it getting there and it was a leap of faith?
It was not there yet, but that decision was forced upon us. My bosses basically said, you're going to be a banker, or you're going to be in the porta potty business. Right. And it's kind of like, well, I've met all my goals with the bank, but now you're kind of worried about my image. And my revenue is not that far off right now from what my salary was and what we were taking in. I essentially got fired from my business and Robert left maybe less than 2 months later because it was like, I can't do all this. You've got to do this. We replaced our income within from start to finish, maybe within less than 3 years.
Right. Congratulations on that.
So it was, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We were very excited. We put a lot of carts before the horses for sure. But
Well,
we make
you're involved in other
you make it work.
You're involved in other rentals, aren't you? Like somewhat related?
Yes, I am. I have another company called Pitch Perfect TVs, which are large LED screen TVs, which is kind of a side hustle.
Yeah.
I've got Savannah Bar Carts, which is a rental bar cart, but everything's on a trailer. And then we've got
it's like a portable bar.
It's a portable bar.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a portable bar. And then I've got some office trailers and some other things that I'm kind of testing out the market with to see how it goes. And those are all event related.
Yes.
That I've seen through the years that are needed. Like we do a large car show. Well, the LED TVs are perfect for that, as well as the bars. When you've got that kind of atmosphere and that kind of clientele, it revolves around everything. And with 52 weeks in the year, why not capture as much as you can? So the TVs, we've had a nice rental with all the college football games going on with the playoffs, as well as with the bars.
Yes.
People just rent the bar because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive. It's cheaper than renting a tent and a bar and having the tables and all that. Because I mean, we rent a bar for like $1,000.
Yes. I have a good friend. He's got several of them and they look so awesome.
Yeah, it's just fun. We don't do the bar service, which that's what we get called for a lot.
Okay.
We just do the facility because of insurance. We just drop the bar off and you handle the rest of it.
Right.
And it's done really well. It's a fascinating side business. I guess that is my other side hustle now. That and
That's
the
right.
TVs.
Yes. You're definitely a side hustle hero. Okay, this one started. Now I've built that one. I franchised it. Now what else? But everything that you just described, David, really speaks to the viability of that business model where you're buying durable things, in your instance, in that rental party space, and then renting it out again and again. It pays for itself, and then eventually it's more of a cash cow. Looping back to the luxury restroom trailers, though, what are some common or biggest challenges a newcomer to the business would encounter or maybe be surprised by?
I think there's always this big learning curve with pulling the trailer and being able to park it exactly where you want to put it. That just takes practice and time. It's kind of like when you were growing up and you learned how to parallel park and you put the two trash cans out and you just kept learning and you just
Yes.
kept going. Time just kind of takes over. It's got to be one of the biggest hurdles is being comfortable backing up and maneuvering in what you're able to do.
Yeah.
Everybody already should know how to clean a bathroom. So that shouldn't be the real issue.
You'd think so.
From a marketing standpoint, it's the business will sell itself. Even someone who is not extrovert and they want to go and talk about it, people want to talk about the bathroom. It's kind of like seeing an exotic car or something. You ask questions about it, you're fascinated by it. The product itself will infuse enough conversation that you shouldn't have to worry about not being able to sell the product. The product will sell itself. It's a necessary use. People need it, and it's a growing trend, especially after COVID. People are a lot more aware about their sanitary conditions, and
Yes.
other businesses want to provide something nice. They want
Mhm.
to get away from that feeling. These products elevate. When you go to a festival, people are staying longer. People are drinking more because they're comfortable going to the bathroom. They're utilizing more things. So the events are making more money. Even though it costs more money, people enjoy themselves more. It's a much more desirable experience overall. And
Yes.
when they're feeling good, they spend more money.
Yeah, they're feeling that they're being treated well.
Right.
They're being cared
They
for.
come back, they come back next year, they talk about the event. And one of our best case studies was we did a children's book festival. And for the first 5 or 6 years, they had on average 2,000 people. And I'm not saying that our bathrooms were what really boosted it, but this festival is now a 2-day festival and they have over 20,000 people.
Wow.
The average time that people stay is like an hour and 30 minutes longer than what it used to be. And of course, that's because it has gotten bigger and it has
Yes.
gotten larger. But one of the things that we were told when they did the surveys back then was they were like, the bathrooms allowed us to stay longer with our families. We
I was
weren't
going to say,
worried
especially with
about,
the kids. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they felt cleaner. They felt, it was like, I don't have to worry. I don't have to leave the event to go take care of my children or something like that. They felt clean.
Yes. Yeah. It was easy to use. Well, just like how it started for you, right? With your two daughters. I'm curious, how
Absolutely.
many stalls do you supply to that festival?
Right now we supply, last I checked, probably, I think around 26 different stalls and 3 or 4 handicap accessible ones.
Oh, very nice.
That's a pretty big turn from when we only supplied them with a 2 stall to begin with.
Wow. How lovely, too, to be able to experience that growth with them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a remarkable feat. I'm sure they don't share with us the exact enthusiasm that we have from it because we're a bathroom company after all.
Having been in business so long, David, I got to ask you, what is a lesson that stands out for you that you've learned about entrepreneurship that you wish you'd known when you were starting out?
I would say the biggest thing is you don't have to do everything yourself. You can count on the support of others because even if you believe that you've done it all by yourself, you've had help along the way. And a lot of times you forget that you do have that support and push. My wife has been so supportive in pushing me to continue to push my boundaries and live up. And the fact that I know that I have her backing and I've got my family's backing to continue to push on is something that a lot of people underestimate. And Another thing is gratitude. So many times in small businesses and side hustles, you never celebrate your milestones. You're always on to the next thing before you step back and be like, oh, wow, look at what I did. Because so many things like with a side hustle is it elevates your personal life. It brings things that you're able to do with your family that you would not be able to. And whether that's a vacation or go to a nicer school, a private school, you are adding that element by doing a side hustle that you would not otherwise be able to enjoy. And so it is important to step back and be grateful for what you've been able to achieve. Basically celebrate that.
Yes, especially given the fact that for so long, too, you were trading potentially family time for working on that side hustle in order to get it to the point where you can use it for the vacation or whatever you deem
Yes. You don't even realize that you've done it. Yeah, you don't even realize that you've done it until it's too late. So it's important to step back and just take a look at it.
Yeah. In this day of everything AI, has it appeared in the luxury portable restroom industry at all?
Not so much yet.
Okay.
We do have monitoring devices that they've come out with that help monitor the usage of the trailers and stuff like that. But we're still behind the times on some of these things. It's still a mobile bathroom, and we haven't really come up with anything past that. It's like I said, 21 years ago, we were still socially accepting a porta potty, essentially a bucket, and it hadn't changed since the Romans. So we're still a little behind the times because we're still growing this business right now.
You may have already answered this. Are there untapped or underserved markets in the business that the new entrant could explore? Like places where typically these bathrooms haven't been used yet?
I would say yes. A lot of the places that could use our restrooms, the placement of the restroom trailers at unions could be on any of these construction sites and stuff could be very beneficial. And I had to go, number two, I would probably leave the site, go off and go to a local fast food restaurant or something to go to the bathroom. That's 45 minutes of my time that is missed from my job just because I went to the bathroom. So I think the untapped markets are where the corporations have not put those two things together yet. And if there's a way to show them, but it's almost like they need to hear that there is a better option, because employee cost and revenue is so hard to manage and follow, that this business could truly change a lot of productivity all across the board. For instance, like when we do business remodels, like Lowe's, Home Depot, your Target, your Walmarts, that sort of stuff. It used to take them 5 to 6 weeks to remodel the entire store's restrooms because they would shut down part of them to leave them open for other people's. By installing the restroom trailers, by use of restroom trailers, they've taken that time down to 2 to 3 weeks because they can completely shut all the restrooms down in the store while using our facilities outside, and they can remain operational. So, and that was just within the last 10, 12 years. It was taking them that long prior to that. So you can see the savings from an untapped market.
Yes. And if somebody does have, an aspiring entrepreneur does have a connection with somebody and they hear through the grapevine that something's happening, that could be a great introduction into this business for them to be able to meet with that company and say, here's a solution for you and how to save money.
And just like I said about in Canada, how they're talking about any job site that's got over 10 people was looking for a real functioning restroom and not just a porta potty. I think that is the direction that the world is headed, because it's a primary necessity that we should all get the best value for.
And if that is indeed the direction you're going to be, an even more busier guy, David. So what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, David?
You can always find us on our website, royalrestrooms.com. I personally am on LinkedIn at David Sowers. And then, of course, all through our different social media outlets. And like I said, hey, I'm always looking to help another fellow entrepreneur out.
Oh, that's wonderful, David. We'll definitely make sure those links are in the show notes. And I'll also drop a couple of the photos of your luxury restroom trailers.
Thank you. You're too kind.
Well, thank you so much, David, for introducing us to the world of luxury bathroom rentals and your other lucrative related rentals. Nice addition.
Yes.
And of course, for being today's side hustle hero.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
2 quick things to wrap up. Number 1, maybe you're thinking, I don't know anything about restroom trailers, so how could I start a rental business? Neither did David, but he figured it out along the way. Every successful entrepreneur starts at 0. Except we do bring with us our accumulated talents and skills, which you'll discover are transferable in more ways than you thought. The key is just to start. If you stick with it, you will figure it out. You'll go to trade shows, you'll connect with the people and the places and things to make it happen. Go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll see how to go further. Secondly, David mentioned how important it's been to have family support as he's built his business. And he's right. Having someone in your corner, whether it's a spouse, a friend, or a mentor who believes in what you're doing, that can make all the difference. But what if you don't have that kind of support system? What if your family or close friends don't get why you're chasing this side hustle? Here's the thing. Support doesn't have to come from family. If they don't understand your vision, find people who do. That could mean joining an entrepreneurial group, finding an accountability partner, or even hiring a coach. Surround yourself with people who push you forward instead of holding you back. Because when challenges come, and they always do, having someone who reminds you why you started can be the difference between giving up and pushing through. So here's my challenge to you. If you already have someone in your corner, send them a message today and thank them. And if you don't, make it a priority to find that support. Your success does not have to be a solo journey. And actually, none of us is successful alone. We all need support and encouragement from time to time. Well, that's a wrap for today. In the episode description, you'll find links to connect with David and his company, Royal Restrooms, as well as a link back to the full show notes, which includes photos of David's luxury trailer restrooms at our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, it would be so appreciated if you would take a moment and add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start or grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.